Hello, and welcome back to my channel, Maya Green. And today I'll be starting a whole new series um, titled Spiritual Bloodlines and how to move from quadrant 2 into quadrant number 1. So, first of all, let's look at the emotions that you find in quadrant 2. There's a lot of knowledge, but there's a lot of hatred. So, self hatred, hatred of others, people who really don't want other people to succeed. They want to use other people. They're full of a lot of hatred for how things have turned out. They can't see anything positive. Most of these people usually are called narcissists in today's world. So there's all the characteristics of narcissism. They just want supply. They want you to take care of them. They want to take from you. They're not going to give you much. They don't like you. They don't love anybody. They don't even love themselves. So there's a lot of hatred, a lot of selfishness, self-centeredness. There's a lot of loneliness. There's a lot of pain in quadrant 2. There might be a lot of physical, financial success because most of them are very well-functioning people, and they're able to, function in very high positions. They can invent a lot of things, but most of these things are just to harm people, right? So you have to be very careful. So how do you move from this state of mind, from all these negative emotions, into quadrant 1, where there's so much self-love, there's so much kindness, so much selflessness. You're willing to help people. You want people to be happy, and you also want to be happy. So it really starts from self-love. How do you move from self-hatred into self-love? So that's what we're going to talk about, because you really want to improve the quality of your life. Now, if you love yourself, you will want the best for yourself. And if you love other people, you'll want the best for them too. So it's a win-win. It's not a win-lose. People in quadrant 2 usually want to win alone. They don't care if everybody else loses. But people in the first quadrant, quadrant 1, where you have love, health, and wealth, they want everybody to have love, health, and wealth. So it's a win-win. We're growing together. And before you can move into quadrant 1, you have to start from loving yourself and loving those around you, wanting the best for them. Now, sometimes because you've been in quadrant 2 for so long, you'll be surrounded by a lot of quadrant 2 types of people who are full of hatred, selfishness, and if you try to love them, they don't understand that language. It's like you're speaking a completely different language, and you might have to actually cut away from the people you're surrounded by in quadrant 2 and start a whole new life with new people in the first quadrant. And this is usually very, very difficult, because you find that your values have changed, your thought processes have changed. What you hold dear, your aspirations, your motivations have completely changed. So you really can't, continue with just being in quadrant 2. You can't continue being selfish. By this time, maybe you've met somebody in quadrant 1 who maybe you have a relationship with. It could be a business relationship. It could even be a romantic relationship, and you just know you have to do better. You have to think about yourself and think about this person and make sure both of you are enjoying love, health, and wealth. And you begin to move away from a lot of people who are in quadrant 2. People who are selfish, people who are wicked, people who have no love. And this is where it gets really difficult, because these people could be your brothers, sisters, parents, friends you've had for several decades, and you just realize this is dark energy. These are lots of dark conceptions. I need to move. And so you find yourself, slowly detaching. You won't be rude, you won't be wicked or anything. You just, limit the time you spend with these people because they're really dangerous. And then you move into quadrant 1 with a new person. Sometimes you might have to move alone. And that's why they say it's lonely at the top, because you've refined yourself so much so that those around you who you grew up with, who knew you, you suddenly can't even just relate with them, because they're coming with a lot of dark negative energies, with hatred and with selfishness, and you're now surrounding yourself with love, kindness, selflessness, and they will take advantage of you if you don't move immediately, you don't change your circle. So you have to change your circle. This is painful but necessary. And when you get into quadrant 1, you'll begin to attract people who are like you. People with love, people with knowledge, who just want the best for you and the best for them. Nobody's going to use you here. Nobody, you don't even want to use anybody. You want everybody to be happy. So when you get into quadrant 1, you begin to maintain that level. And I like to give, people ask me, why do you use celebrities as your examples? I have to, because you can't relate with anybody I mention. I can say, okay, in my life I've done this, or my cousin did that. But if I say, okay, whoever's trending in the news right now, okay, if we talk about Andrew Tate, what happened to him? One minute he is like, living his best life, health, wealth, and I don't know if it's love, because his message is very controversial. So he loves himself for sure, and then he found himself incarcerated in quadrant 4. If you go back to my quadrants, and how did he move from? Because I really think an Andrew Tate, for instance, is in quadrant 2. Lots of knowledge, but I don't see a lot of love for other people. Maybe a lot of self-love, right? So again, why am I using celebrities? And famous people? Because I'm speaking on YouTube to a worldwide audience. And I have to use people who are famous, who are trending in the news, because we can all relate. We can all see the examples I'm pulling out of, the news. And we can still put them into the 4 quadrants, right? So an Andrew Tate for me would be, in quadrant 2. And then with all that's happened in Romania, with him being, incarcerated and then for 3 months and then under house arrest for 7 months, it just goes to show that he's moved from 2 to 4, very quickly. And now he's been released, so he's moved back into 2, but he can't even leave Romania, so he's limited in where he can, move around. He might have the money and everything, but the love is lacking. And that is why I use examples like that. So sometimes I would mention Beyonce, Prince Harry, the Queen. I mean, I'm using very famous people so that you can all look at their lives and say, okay, this is a quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. And what are they experiencing, right? So Andrew Tate has been in the news, and he's a great example of someone who's been in quadrant 2, very wealthy, lacking a lot of love for others. I would say it's very selfish. I don't want to define it too brutally, but it's a very interesting kind of love that he has for himself and for other people, especially women. So his message is controversial. He might be wealthy, he might be followed by a lot of people, but like I said, in quadrant 4, they have a good knowledge of psychology, of wealth, of poverty, and they know how to use this knowledge to get themselves very wealthy. But again, because there's no love, it can easily fall into quadrant 4. It can fall into, and when it gets into quadrant 4, incarceration, court battles, you go to court every day trying to explain yourself over and over. You're saying the same things. Your lawyer, they're not even listening to you. So you have to hire a lawyer to speak for you because your voice is gone. That's what happens to people in quadrant 4, and it starts with no love. So you need to look into how you put love in your life so that when you say something once, people believe you, they understand you. But Andrew Tate, for some reason, wasn't understood in Romania, and he was incarcerated for 3 months, house arrest for 7 months. That's quadrant 4. and he needs a serious, intervention. Now he's been released from house arrest. So he's back in quadrant 2. If he can find true love for himself and for others, then he can actually move into quadrant 1, where you're living so happily, so peacefully, and full of love, health, and wealth. Your words are not offending anybody. There's zero controversy because you really are looking out for everybody. So that for me is a great example of how someone from quadrant 2 moved to quadrant 4. However, he can still move to quadrant 1. So he is a great example of someone in quadrant 2. And because today's topic is quadrant 2 to, quadrant 1, moving from 2 to 1, that's why I've used Andrew Tate. Now, you might have people in your lives who are, going through similar things, or they have similar characteristics of someone like an Andrew Tate. Very wealthy, very almost I could get cancelled because I've been told that if I mention too many celebrities on here, I could be taken out of context, and really that's not what I want to do at all. I really want people to understand that you have to fit into one of the boxes. I know they say think out of the box, but really, if you get out of any of these 4 quadrants, you're dead. Like, you're out of life. That is death, So if you want to live, there are 4 different ways to live. You can live without knowledge, without love. That's quadrant 4. You can live with a lot of knowledge, but 0 love, which is in quadrant 2. And you can live with lots of love, lots of knowledge, quadrant 1, which is where everyone really and truly deeply wants to be in. Or you can live in quadrant 3, where you have a lot of love but no knowledge. So for me, that's really, really dangerous, because you have so much, have so many blessings, and you just don't know how to truly enjoy them. So moving from any quadrant, especially from 2, 3, and 4 into quadrant 1, is going to be very difficult, very painful, but not impossible. I keep saying not impossible. And so take your time to look around you. Are your motivations selfish? Are you willing to let people around you suffer whilst you enjoy? If you don't mind winning and they losing, already there's no love, and it's going to spiral into quadrant 4, and ultimately death. Very unhappy, very slow, very, very painful. So begin to detach yourself from these negative emotions, negative energies, and start moving into quadrant 1. Begin to detach yourself from negative people and start moving around people who have nothing but positive energy. I know they say this all the time. Surround yourself with people, who love you. It's one of the hardest things, because if the people around you who should love you, your brothers, sisters, mothers, don't truly love you, you have to let them go. Mother, father, sister, brother, child, even. If you find that they really don't love you, it's not a win-win. You keep losing, they keep winning. Then you've got to move to quadrant 1, where it's better to even be alone and lonely at the top than to be with a crowd at the bottom and absolutely broken. So that brings me to the end of this episode. I hope you've learned a lot about how to move from quadrant 2 into quadrant 1, starting with love, kindness, forgiveness, selflessness, moving away from people who hold a lot of negative energy. And thank you once again for watching. Please feel free to ask me any questions. The next episode will be how to move from quadrant 3 into 1. And then we'll do the last one, which will be quadrant 4 into 1. And then we'll talk about some things you can do physically that can help you do this even faster. Okay? Thank you for watching. Bye.